you know, I'd say they're on slightly better position simply because they've already played My Insanity and their loss is to My Insanity, whereas the loss for Red Bloods is from Cascade, who I think it's fair to say are a weaker team than My Insanity. So Red Bloods, if they can defeat My Insanity, then they'd probably be in a really good position. But for now, I guess if we stop thinking about too much, if we stop going too far into the future, I guess we can just for now say that whoever wins this today will take a slight advantage in the positions in the league as we head into kind of the latter half of the competition. But we're in game right now, and let's introduce our players. In the upper left-hand corner, we have our red Terran player from Axiom. It's Ryung. And in the bottom left-hand corner, in the teal, he is Krass, our teal Terran player. And Krass, the newest pickup for Red Bloods. And we'll see how he does here today. Has been playing for them for a couple of weeks now, maybe slightly longer. And we've seen him a couple of times already in the SC2ITL. He actually did lose to Rotterdam in the match against Root, which was pretty exciting for most people because everyone wanted to see Rotterdam doing well. So, anyways, yeah, so this is Krass in the bottom left-hand corner. And we're spawning in vertical positions here to get this best of 7 started. Dead Ring, a bit of a weird map to see as the first map in a series in the best of 7s. Usually we almost always see Overgrowth. But, you know, I think that's kind of attributed to the fact here that, you know, it's a TVT. Maps are very different in TVT than in other matchups. And, yeah, I mean, a nice big map. Both players probably happy to go into a longer game. Well, I imagine that's going to be the case here. And we'll just see where this goes. A factory on the way down right now from Krass, because he did go for that gas first. Compared to Ryung back at home, who did just take a slightly later gas for himself. No repair or anything. He's going to be able to pop down his reactor and factory here in a couple of moments. And, yeah, I think it was just a 13 gas. So it's still a gas opening. It's still going to get him his factory kind of fast. And honestly, I feel this gives him a slight advantage against what Krass is doing, because Krass's build is designed to be aggressive, most likely designed to be aggressive in some way, taking his second gas now as well to continue teching up here. Whereas Ryung's build is also designed to be aggressive, but it's got slightly more economy behind it because the gas was taken slightly later. His barracks came up a bit sooner, so he's got a couple more marines as well. He's going to have that little bit of extra production with that reactor too, as we do see Reaper on the way for Krass, and that's going to be crossing the map in a couple of moments here, looking to try and get some early scout information on his opponent, see what's going on, and see what his opponent's up to, as he has his own starport about halfway done, and Ryung just expanding up on his high ground right now and getting ready to move towards the low ground. How's everyone doing in the chat then as this TVT gets started? How is everyone doing? Hello to you all. I know there's a lot of Axiom fans in here. Dean Trivy saying 16 for now are crankpods, so please let us know if you've been too fanboys. You know what? You can never be too much of a fanboy for any team in the SC2ITL. We love it when we get to see players, fans cheering on the teams and showing their supporters. A couple of Hellions here against this Reaper. This Reaper's probably going to die and wasn't really too impactful in the game. I mean, it did its job. It got a scouting information factory on the reactor. He knows there's Hellions on the way. Sees that starboard coming up slightly later than his own. I don't believe he saw the command center, but he doesn't really need to see that command center simply because the command center is almost guaranteed by the fact that this starport is coming up a little bit later on here. You know, there's no reason for Ryung to have that starport coming up later if he hasn't built a command center, basically. You know, there's no real way for that to be the case. With the setup of buildings he does currently have. So we'll see how that develops. We've got a couple more Hellions crossing the map for Ryung as the first Banshee is about to pop out for Krass. He does have a wall up on the top of his ramp here, and it looks as though he's just going to be sitting defensively, and Ryung shouldn't be able to get too much done, if anything, with these initial Hellions back at home. He has got himself a Viking on the way, and a couple of turrets being made, one in the middle of the line there, one over by the production, and he's also got a third coming up in his natural expansion, getting ready to just deflect any kind of Banshee which may come in here, so he can take his command center there nice and easily. So no real worries about that, as this Viking gets into position to intercept this Banshee, and it's going to be on a head-on collision course until he changes at the last moment, but then flies right back into it. And Krass does not have Cloak finish for another 10 seconds here, and Ryung is going to keep on moving after this. How far away is Cloak? 3 seconds? 2 seconds? Is he going to get it? Oh, the Viking just stops chasing in. Well, Krass, he is going to keep moving forward here, but he needs to be very careful of that turret. He's going to go in range for a slight second there. The Viking not quite getting that shot off, and the Banshee Has to be so careful right now, but it's going to go down, flying into the next turret, and first Banshee just absolutely nothing here for Krass. And Ryung off to a pretty good start. He's got Hellions out on the map, holding the map control, and taking a little bit of vision for himself. And he's got already some nice air dominance here, with a couple of Vikings already out, and continuing to shut down these Banshees most likely. There's another Banshee heading towards the main base right now, going to be looking for that, but Ryung has spotted it, and he is in hot pursuit with his first Viking, looking to see if he can catch this here, and he's going to try and come in the back of the mineral line, but again, turret given that vision and also getting a couple of shots off, and Krass having no real issues. Once again, he has scan actually a little bit misplaced. Yeah, it's just ever so slightly ever so slightly not enough, as we actually have a lot of Hellions moving across the map here from Krass. And this is something which Ryung is maybe not completely prepared to deal with, as he does just evacuate his natural mineral line, and he takes a couple of shots on these Hellions, and Krass probably just going to have to back off. There will be enough for Ryung to defend. I mean, with a tank sieged up, a couple of Vikings landed, these Hellions probably aren't going to be too much. I'm sorry that we did actually miss what was going on with those, and I assume it was just a bit of a skirmish as he came down his ramp and decided to break out. As the second factory comes down here, we're going to be seeing mech play out of Krass, and he's moving his own command center towards the natural now, but Ryung already going up to 3 command centers. His extra barracks on the way, so it's going to be kind of marine tank against mech here, or bio tank most likely against mech. And Ryung also starting that +1 upgrade as Hellions starting to come back home. Ryung going to drop a few Hellions of his own into his opponent's main base, and he's going to run those towards the mineral line right now and going to look for a little bit of damage. And of course these SCVs will start to be pulled away. First couple of workers going down. Now I'm pretty sure these are kind of like some of the first workers of the game being killed here. And yeah, just a couple of workers killed by them initial Banshees earlier by Krass. As Ryung evacuating here, looking at the supplies, I mean, things are fairly even. 36 workers for Ryung going up against 33 of Krass, so he's in an alright position, and he's got a slightly slower third command center, but that's not the end of the world either. Playing mech against what is going to be playing against bio, it's not going to be, you know, you're not going to be like, oh damn, I've got no chance, just because you don't have a third command center. You're going to have the stronger composition as the game goes on. It's all about just surviving until you can get that composition up and running. So that's kind of the goal here for Krass basically, and you know, just staying defensive basically. And you know, if you can do a little bit of aggression like this with some Hellions running by, this would be really nice. And he's going to pick up a few workers here already. There's a couple, and there's going to be 5 workers killed in total, and he might be able to grab just one more here, and there he does, one more kill, and he's just going to run away. Grabs the Hellion as well, so his Hellion drop actually been fairly successful. Loses the Hellions, but I mean, playing mech, those Hellions are so just, you know, you can just trade them away for whatever, you know. They're not kind of, you know, the be-all and end-all of the game. And with this, Krass actually does take a little bit of a worker advantage. Now, of course, the third command center, which is an orbital and is flying into position, will put Ryung kind of ahead in income overall. If you check down to that bottom right-hand corner, you can see he's down a little bit, but that's most likely because he's just transferring some units or so, or he just hasn't dropped mules as recently. But in general, he should be the player who kind of starts going a little bit ahead in terms of the income here fairly shortly, just because he does have triple mule available to him. Still saving some scans though? No, okay, so he has just dropped his mules, and they're going to start working, so you'll see that spike in income hitting in a few moments' time. So, Hellions falling back here, and tank getting ready to siege up. This medevac, which was dropping the Hellions earlier, finally trying to make his way back home, but does get intercepted as he tries to move over towards these Hellions. And just a scan in the middle of the map right now, Krass trying to keep on top of what his opponent is up to, where he is moving. Now, if we have a look at the unit count here, let's see how things are looking right now. So Ryung, despite playing bio, is actually going to have a higher siege tank count until these this factory production really kicks in for Krass. But Krass does have a advantage in terms of Vikings, so that air control will definitely help him out in terms of, you know, as the game goes on a little bit, a couple of Hellions getting cleaned up over there. And yeah, I mean, there's not really too much, I guess, on the map for Krass right now, but again, all he really has to do is kind of sit defensively and see where he can get to. He's still actually ahead in workers despite the lack of a third command center until, you know, just now basically. You know, he still doesn't have that up and running, so despite that, he is still slightly ahead in terms of the workers. Ryung just catching up now, but you can see Ryung's income a lot higher simply because of those that third mule there. So again, just got some Hellions moving around trying to see what they can do, but tank sieged up, going to defend those, well, kind of swat them away just for now. And yeah, just Hellions sitting around. Another scan comes up here, and Krass just keeping eyes on what Ryung is up to, trying to get a Hellion by to try and see if he can scout anything. I mean, at this point, Ryung is, 100% knows that this is mech, and he's probably known it for quite some time, so that's why he's been adding a lot of Marauders to his composition. He's got a lot of tech labs on these barracks. Them Marauders going to be able to add a lot to the fight, and, they're really tanky. They're going to soak up a couple more tank shots than the Marines would, and they're going to be able to take down the tanks a little bit faster as well. A few Marines will be mixed in for that higher DPS onto the Hellions to try and get through what will be the kind of, defensive layer of the mech play and break through towards those tanks. And just taking a little bit of map control, which is always a nice thing to do if you do have that higher tank count. You can always take map control, and just as the bio player in general, you're going to be able to take map control. And what you can really do with the higher tank count is hold positions. So that's what Ryung is maybe looking to do right now. And because there's vertical spawns, this left-hand watchtower on the map is going to be so important throughout the game. If you can set up a bit of kind of a soft container in the middle of the map, that's going to be really interesting to see how your opponent can try and break out of it. Now, of course, drops are one way to kind of stop your opponent from being doing too much like that, and Ryung does have two Vikings nearby, but not quite close enough as these Hellions will begin to unload. Big movement towards this third base though, as Hellions also trying to run by, but just a couple too many units here, and a couple of SCVs going to go down. They're actually moving to the middle of the map. I wonder if he's going to try and put up turrets or so to try and help with this container, because you can see Ryung has just moved so far forwards, and Krass, seeing this now, will probably realize he has to find a way to break out of this, although this is a really good way to start doing that. Already 17, 18 workers killed, and he's going to get up to 20 at least here. So 20 workers killed with this one drop of Hellions, and all of a sudden, that's a lot of damage that Ryung has just taken there. So this only puts, it only actually puts Krass into kind of a 6 worker lead, and that is going to decrease quite rapidly as 3 SCVs are made at a time. But, it's something, and the real problem right now is he needs to find a way to kind of break out of here, and sensor tower coming down, a turret as well. It's not going to be easy as Ryung going to unsiege this tank, and it's just going to get caught still. But still not the end of the world, but probably wants to get another one on there before these SCVs repair it up. And are they going to get it in time is the question. No, they're not. SCVs nearly going down, but just moving away as tank siege in the high ground as well. Going to make it very difficult for Krass to really mine off of this third base, while back at home, Ryung, 4th base, 5th command center, both being set up here, so he continues to keep the lead in the economy, and that's expected of the bio player. But the mech player is in a tough position because he can't really mine properly off of his 3rd base, and you need at least 3 bases. So this is kind of really tough for him right now, as Ryung just kind of sitting on this tank line, waiting to see what's going to happen next, waiting to see what the next movement will, move will be. There's a few units going to move up to this high ground in a few, and maybe just coming towards the natural, because there's not really that much defending here. There's 3 tanks, but a lot of the tanks on the low ground don't reach up to this natural expansion, and a couple of tanks already sieging, and all of a sudden Krass is in a lot of trouble as Ryung starts to move forwards here. In fact, moving his entire army up here. The rest of his tanks coming up as well, just leaving a couple over there. This Banshee really nice though from Krass, starting to clean that up, but real problem right now stands with this army on his natural. He needs to get a Banshee over here and start dealing with this, otherwise he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Both players killing off workers, 8 for Krass, but 20 for Ryung here, and that puts Krass down to 43 workers remaining at this point. This Cloak Banshee comes in, going to try and soften up a couple of these tanks, but scan and the Marines combined are not quite going to be enough to get that Banshee, and have to be careful of that. But then here comes the second one, so another tank going to fall here, and slowly but surely Krass will wither away at this army. But I mean, it is not looking great for him right now, as a 4 being added in as well to help a bit against this air control which Krass does have in the game. And Medevac's starting to be picked off here, but there's just so many tanks, and he trades a Banshee for a tank, and that's something Ryung's going to be happy to do here. He doesn't care if he loses a tank for a Banshee, because he has the better economy. 4 bases set up, that 5th command center is still building, about to finish up here in a few moments' time. It looks as though there was actually a Hellion run by here, which has delayed this command center and these gases, and that's where the worker kills from Krass were coming in before. As these few units still just kind of working away on whatever they can reach. Banshee thinking about what it wants to try and attack into, and it's going to pick off another tank. But again, it's just not really enough right now to kind of, make up the difference. And this Banshee even going to go down. And Krass really kind of stuck in a corner, I suppose. Well, a corner which is his own base. And tanks on the high ground again, just sieging away here. And what can he do about it? Nothing. He's let Ryung get into this position. His 3rd command center was very late. And I think the lateness of the 3rd command center is what's really hurt him in this game, because he didn't do anything to make it worthwhile getting that 3rd command center so late on. He had some Hellions, he's trying to run by with them, but there was always just enough around for Ryung to just deal with those run-bys, and so they didn't achieve anything. That Marine is a hero as it picks off that Banshee, and Ryung adding on some starports, just making sure he can get away with winning the rest of this game here, because if he can get an air switch going, that's pretty much the last thing he needs to kind of just secure it. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a slow death for Krass. He's just kind of sitting on, trying to hold on. He is actually ahead in army supply, interestingly enough, 125 to 114, because he only has 18 workers. So I guess there's maybe a slight chance for him here. It'd be kind of miraculous, though, if he was actually able to make it happen, especially with so much supply kind of in the skies. And, you know, that air supply doesn't help too much in straight-up fights, which is kind of what he's going to have to try and take here. Banshee falling back, a few tanks on siege, and Halbat's going to move forwards with this clump of units, and these tanks are going to edge forwards a little bit, and he's just going to go for it. Moves forwards and starts sieging. And he's going to try and break through this northern wall of siege tanks from Ryung, and he looks as though he will be able to do this, but at the same time, Ryung just says, let's go, and sends straight into this tank line with nothing to defend. These 5 tanks are made, well, they go down very quickly, to say the least, as a single Banshee here not going to be any match for that 4, which does pick it off, and these Vikings might have to land, try and clean up these tanks, and that's exactly what's going to happen. But Vikings don't fare too well against tanks either, and they're all going to go down, and down at 60 supply. That's going to be GG. Good game as Krass taps out, and Ryung is able to take map number